Welcome on into You Heard with Nerds. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And we got some nerd news for you today. And what might that be, Dorian?
Well, what it entails, Brett, is we got Disney Plus news and also news about Disney Plus concerning Star Wars shows. We're going to be talking about the new Spiderman 3, not the old one, but the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But first things first, Monster Hunter, the movie, got a trailer.
Yeah, so kind of an interesting take on the because when I heard there's going to be a Monster Hunter movie, I thought it was going to be a Monster Hunter movie.
And I mean, to a certain extent, this still is, but I mean, it does have like a weird kind of take, at least in terms of like the setup of this movie here. For the most part.
Basically, they're what's her name, Mila Jovovich.
Djokovic, yeah.
She's her and I guess Tony Jaa are probably the main protagonists. I guess we don't really know too much about Tony's character,
right,
or any of them for that matter. But so they're Mila, whatever her name is. They're like a military ops group. They get transported somewhere to a different world or dimension.
A Monster Hunter world.
A Monster Hunter world.
Not that one,
no.
but.
And you know it kind of shows them encountering some of the monsters. They look cool. Like I think they show like a Rathos. I don't know if it was a Diablo.
Rathos, no, I mean they definitely show some of like
the actual monsters, which is, I guess, what it's about.
Exactly.
And then they showed a little bit of Tony Jaa's character, who's very reminiscent of who you play as, I guess, in Monster Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually has the weapons, the bow, where the military people just had their guns from our world, and we're trying to fight them. So, I mean, this could go a couple ways. I like Tony Jaa a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, they showed off the bow. They showed off the dual swords.
Yep. Even the poster has like that big like bone sword thing that's like looks like it's impossible for like any
human to carry
here. So
I'm I don't know. It looks cool. I guess Tony's gonna be the one. His character is
probably gonna be
gives them the weapons to take down the monsters they need.
For you, he's probably gonna be the one that's gonna be carrying the movie in terms of actors. Are you thinking?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. But no, I think ultimately with this movie, I mean, for one, I'm actually kind of surprised like the special effects and the monster design look as good as it does here. I kind of figured like, you know, this is kind of the type of movie you would expect it to. Not for it to have like a really big budget, and so they might drop the ball and like, you know, and cut corners in some areas, but at least like in that department they sure didn't, which I think is very key for this movie for one.
Definitely.
And you know, it's supposed to be coming out this December. I have very many doubts.
I don't.
This is actually going to be coming out this year here. I mean, heck, I would imagine this would probably go straight to VOD here. This kind of strikes me as one of those movies for the most part.
Depending on like what the studio wants, I guess. Yeah, it's possible, and it might do really well on VOD. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, some movies just do really well on VOD here. But that being said, this movie looks all kinds of dumb and all kinds of stupid here, just with the plot and everything.
Yeah,
but
it kind of reminds me of Transformers 1. Where they're like in the desert. There's these military guys trying to fight these Transformer in the desert.
Sure. I mean, with Transformers, it like made a little bit more sense just because like Transformers actually come to Earth and all that, like in the actual source material.
I'm just saying like the scene where the Rathalos comes out of the sand and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like on like grabbing the helicopter or whatever it is.
That's like that just reminds me of the scorpion that comes out of the sand in
Transformers 1. Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, but I mean, so again, this movie probably gonna be a really dumb movie plot wise and all that. But if you give me some decent action scenes, I'll probably, you know, take a gander. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what my thoughts on it. But I still feel like this is a movie that could have been like a animated movie on like Netflix or something like that. I think it would have served, you know, kind of the source material a lot better in that regard.
I think it's an interesting franchise to put into live action for sure.
It's definitely a very interesting franchise to put in live action. It's like kind of one of those where it's like, okay.
Because it's not like a huge title that a lot of people play, I feel like.
With Monster
Hunter. Maybe World. With World.
Yeah, Monster Hunter World, I think definitely put this franchise kind of more into like the mainstream spotlight for the most part.
It's just odd to me that we get a Monster Hunter movie before a movie like Halo or
kidding.
like a Gears of War movie type of thing.
I think mostly just because with like Monster Hunter, there's not much plot, so you can be more flexible with it, and also just the fact that I think like the people who are doing like a Gears of War or a Halo movie, they know how beloved those franchises are, the lore and the story. So I think the stars need to align in order to make that movie great, as opposed to like somebody being like, oh yeah, let's make a movie about killing like big freaking monsters, or
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so Mandalorian Season 2 is on its way, and Mandalorian Season 3 has
just about begun production for the most part.
Yeah, they're starting to ramp up production already.
Yeah.
And they kind of came out with an announcement recently that said Season 3 is coming out October, November of 2021. So, pretty ambitious in my opinion, but I guess that's the same time slot they got for this next season.
Pretty much. I mean, it's lining up with the first season, this season, and last season in terms of time frame here, like about a year apart for the most part. But
well, if you look at 2021, I guess, with the current slate, and we'll talk more about some Star Wars news later, but they're gonna have the Bad Batch coming out spring.
Is that supposed to be that early? I thought it was going to be a little bit later here, but
no, they're already done with it. They've been done for a while, but like supposed to be spring, and then we have the potential, Rebels thing going on.
Yeah.
And then so we have Mandalorian. So that's 3 Star Wars
shows
in 1 year, which would be pretty nuts.
No, that's not too bad here. But yeah, I mean, so Jon Favreau, to kind of get back on like Mandalorian Season 3, Jon Favreau is stating that the next season will start filming before the year is over. And he also didn't rule out the possibility of like a Mandalorian movie.
That could be really cool.
Now, what capacity that is, like whether it's like, kind of like the last.
Maybe it'll be a prequel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because that goes well with Star Wars.
Yeah.
So whether that's going to actually be a theatrical thing, or if that's going to be kind of like El Camino with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it could just be straight to Disney Plus.
Straight to Disney Plus.
Which, in my opinion, the quality of the show,
it's not lacking.
It would just honestly be just a couple episodes combined for a theatrical release,
right?
Type of
just
thing.
With maybe a more of like a, more like a focused plot line or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. So, I mean, no, it's good to see that this show. Excuse me. The show is just keeping up its production, especially considering how we heard those rumors about Pedro Pascal and like him
leaving the project,
wanting to leave the project and all this other stuff. That there's really nothing like significant that seems to be slowing this thing down.
No. Yeah, and in the same vein, Disney Plus is here to stay.
Yeah, it's apparently it's doing pretty well for itself. Like we've kind of been hearing like
mixed reviews.
Well, a back and forth on like whether or not it's doing well, whether it's not doing well, and so I think now we kind of have a little bit more of a legitimate answer to that.
Yeah, and I mean the Disney execs came out and said, basically with the state of things, how we're seeing success on Disney Plus, that's where we're going to be focusing a lot of our attention, and whether that's shows, movies, what have you, they're going to focus their efforts towards the Disney Plus platform. Which,
right, exactly.
I haven't seen numbers on Mulan, but I'm guessing they did really well.
Yeah, I mean,
with that as well.
And that's one of those things where I keep hearing like kind of a mixed thing on whether or not like Mulan actually did pretty decent going to like video on demand, or if it kind of like did lacklusterly. But essentially with Mulan, I mean, it seems like Disney has a lot of confidence in their streaming service, and I think it also speaks to Disney's confidence with the movie theater model here, because we're still trying.
They might not be around,
right?
So.
We're still trying to wonder or like figure out like what is going to be the state of like movie theaters post COVID here. Is it going to like, are they still going to be in operation? Have they gone bankrupt? Because I mean,
I don't know how any company, regardless of how big you are, could stay afloat with zero revenue for about 9 months.
I mean, you got to have like a lot stowed away in the bank here or something here. I mean,
there's just no way.
I'm just, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not like, business operations guy. But, I mean, but obviously this whole, focus on streaming, with their whole like ESPN, Hulu, and Disney Plus bundle and just all those services that they have like under their umbrella. It makes sense just given the current state of things here. Obviously, I think like, ways that you can enjoy media at home are essentially the big things right now. So like video games sales and like, people playing video games, that number has like skyrocketed here. Streaming services are doing better than ever. So it's one of those things where it's like, why wouldn't you do this here at this point in time, at least given the current state?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to restructure. Honestly, I think that's kind of where our culture was headed in general, even before all this stuff went down.
Right. I mean,
the digital platform and
right.
With Netflix, all that stuff is where it's at. Like,
right. I mean, I think you're finding more and more people who prefer to like watch their entertainment at home as opposed to like going out to like, a theater, sit down in a dark room with a bunch of strangers and get charged like up the yin yang for like concessions.
You gotta find the spots, man. You gotta find the deals.
Yeah,
you gotta go to Regal on Tuesdays in the Valley.
Exactly, but
yeah. So I'm on the flip side of that because me and my wife really like the experience of going to the movies. It's a good way to get out of the house.
Yeah.
A lot of places, I don't know about every market, but around here we have a couple of theaters or when they were open that would offer discounted days, and then we have a discount theater or like which the discount theater where we live is the only one open right now.
Yep, no, it is.
And I saw Tenet there, which was we could talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like what Disney's doing. I'm excited more stuff is going to come. That makes me excited for maybe plans they had for movies coming out get changed into Disney Plus shows.
Sure.
And I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Sure. No, and yeah, I mean, because that's kind of one things that kind of makes me a little bit more hopeful for Disney Plus is the fact that if they're going to be making this a primary focus, like they, their words, not mine.
Yeah.
Then this hopefully means we get more worthwhile stuff to watch on Disney Plus here. Because
I can only watch Even Stevens so many times in a row.
Exactly.
Which is a great show, but.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, again,
I mean, it's interesting because with what we're going to talk about next, I'll kind of, tie that together. But the Rebels sequel series, the first season of it is finished. It's ready to go already. So
do we have like an official title for that yet? Or
no official title.
All right.
It's set to release after the Bad Batch, which is coming out in spring. So we know we have that to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
We have, Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision.
Yep.
Is Loki still coming out in the spring?
Loki, I have no idea. I know that I think they were, working on it a little bit, but I mean, obviously we haven't gotten like anything substantial for like a trailer or teaser or anything like that here.
So I mean the future's looking bright for Disney Plus for these next few months going forward after, the Mandalorian starts streaming. I'm guessing right after WandaVision's going to start streaming.
Probably, or at least like maybe even concurrently.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
And Disney's kind of come out and said after like the massive success of the Clone Wars, which I didn't know was a massive success.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of surprised me about that.
Apparently, and I don't know the numbers on this, it had more viewership than The Mandalorian.
That honestly surprised me very much so, just because I feel like Mandalorian has a lot more of a broader appeal as opposed to Clone Wars here. But then again, I mean, this is the streaming service that you get your kids. So if it's mostly like kids that are, making up the majority of the audience of Disney Plus, then I mean, obviously that could probably explain it. Yeah,
so they're basically fast tracking Rebels. They're going to fast track more Clone Wars stuff because they said they're going to be doing all different kinds of stuff with that. Bad Batch, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just excited for that because those are two. I mean, I probably won't. I don't know. I don't care too much about Bad Batch.
Nah, me neither.
But definitely the Rebel sequel series will be interesting. And then just all the different stuff we're going to get out of this Disney Plus subscription service going forward, and hopefully no more delays. It doesn't sound like there's going to be.
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, just based on like, the way they distributed this information, just because it's like, okay, this is like where you guys are going to be putting your chips right now.
Yeah.
At least at this point in time. So, I mean, I mean, again, we don't know exactly like officially like what that means. Like, are they gonna like start making more movies like with the intention of Disney Plus? Like, are they maybe gonna make like lower budget, like, superhero or Star Wars movies here? That way, like they can like release them in theater, but they could also release it like maybe a month after Disney Plus, and then that way it's not like really that big of a hit if they lose some money.
Yeah,
on it.
I can see them doing something like that. I mean, here's the deal. I didn't know. I guess here I'll backtrack in my thoughts.
Okay.
So, mainline MCU movies, Spider-Man, X-Men, stuff like that, I can see going to theaters. Now, with Disney Plus, you might get because like Shang-Chi, I don't know anything about Shang-Chi, but that could be a movie I see going. That or even the Eternals, really.
Yeah.
I can see those going to more of a Disney Plus platform and then having the real big blockbuster movies released to the theaters and then VOD.
I could see Shang-Chi going to Disney Plus just because I think mostly lesser known actor, lesser known character. Eternals, I think they will still try to put out in the theater just because of the actors that are involved are fairly well known. So I think that's probably what they're going to be trying to do with that one here.
Yeah, and it's nothing against Shang-Chi. It's just not a well-known character at all.
No, I mean, we're talking like C tier, maybe even D potentially for like the Marvel like notoriety here.
And maybe it's something they explore because I don't know how far they got into it. But basically, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it doing either thing, but I can see this being the platform they go to in the future where they go, hey, here's our S tier movies, all the team up movies. Here's our A tier movies that are going to go to the theater.
Yep.
Our B tier and below, we're going to kind of take a pivot and move them to Disney Plus and release them in this kind of order.
Yeah.
That will coincide with our shows that we're, doing as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely could see them doing something similar to that here for certain. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about more Spider-Man 3 stuff?
Sure, we might as well here. So I mean,
it's pretty much confirmed that this is a Spider-Verse movie.
Pretty much. I mean, well. Except it's not.
Except it's not. Yeah.
But it's looking more and more likely as the days go on. So essentially, with Spider-Man 3, no, not that one, the new one. There's apparently a blogger who has like inside information that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in talks to reprise their roles as Peter Parker here. So pretty much confirming what we all thought and like kind of what Jamie Foxx seemed to hint at with his photo that he tweeted out about like the 3 Spider-Men and him and Electro and all that. So that being said, Sony at this point in time, I think Sony executive or somebody at Sony was asked about, is this
That's true, yeah.
Is Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming back, and they said we can't really
confirm or deny
for the most part, which typically usually that means like, okay, this is probably going to happen here for the most part. But so I mean, it just seems like this there's always going to be like new information like for the next couple of weeks about this movie just because it's just starting to ramp up production and all that. So stay tuned. We'll probably have a lot more on this and all that.
Something's probably breaking right now that they're both actually officially in the movie while we're recording and filming
probably this. just giving our luck on on like how this thing goes here. But I mean, one of the things I was kind of thinking about a little bit earlier today is like, how do they distinguish themselves from Into the Spider-Verse?
Right.
Because I mean, obviously I know this is like this movie, it's shaping up to be what Spider-Verse originally wanted to be. But obviously they couldn't get like everybody on board, blah, blah, blah. So that being said, with this movie, it's like, okay, what are they going to do that differentiates it? Because obviously when you have 3 Spider-Men, you can't have them all be just, standard vanilla Peter Parker. Like one of them has to like kind of be like, okay, he's seen some stuff here,
That'll be the Tobey Maguire
probably one. Tobey Maguire or maybe even Andrew Garfield here potentially, because like where we left off on him was definitely Gwen Stacy and all that. And plus, I mean, he's not like really the like I think public opinion has really turned on like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, so they might try to do something different with that. Who knows? But then also you have the fact that this movie has, like, just by its nature itself, has to, kind of have the theme of what it means to be Spider-Man here. And that's one of the big things that you had in Spider-Verse here, which is like, okay, what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man?
Right.
And so I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that gets differentiated.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, I guess.
That's all we got.
Sorry.
I mean,
we could talk about Tenet, I guess, or something.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, so you saw Tenet for the first time. So tell the audience what you thought.
It was okay.
Okay.
That's all I got. No, it was so. What's interesting about this movie is like,
it's hard to keep track of.
It's very hard to keep track of. It's a pretty like dense movie in terms of like trying to figure out what's actually going on. Like, it's a lot to absorb at first. Like, at first I was like, what is going? You don't know what's going on, and there's no explanation, basically.
Yeah.
And so you're made to kind of think through that as the movie's happening. Mm-hmm. Christopher Nolan does a great job of, having the time travel be something that is somewhat tangible, like, and how they do it. It's very weird.
Well,
like,
it's a very different take.
Very different
that I've seen on time travel. A very cool take, but it's one that will make your brain hurt. Like, when you think about it, and like having to like see it from like different perspectives and all
so
that.
that's the thing that gets explained way later in the movie is essentially there's people going forward in time, and then there's people going backward in time.
Yeah, but not in like the traditional sense of like going backward in time, where you just teleport to a year. It's like the flow of time is being reversed. So it's like,
it looks like you're watching someone in reverse.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. And so if you're going in reverse, you have to kind of move your body in a different way. Like, that would perpetuate you being able to like fight someone maybe going forward.
Exactly, which does get explored in the movie, but even like other things too, like things are also reversed. Like heat will like
will freeze you.
Like and like things that are typically cold will like burn you, and then you're like the air that you can't breathe it because you're basically inverted at that point. So you have to like have oxygen in order to breathe. Essentially, you have to bring your own supplemental oxygen.
Yeah, they have like these little tiny takes they kind of bring with them with a mask. And,
yep.
I thought it was overall, if I'm just giving like a basic overview,
sure.
like it was fine. It was just it was slow at points, in my opinion, but then it was really fast at points to where you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think they try to explain it at parts, and obviously the part of it is the mystery still of what actually was going on, like with Christopher Nolan's history and, Inception and whatnot. It's like, okay,
like
I get the artistic piece of this, but at the same time, I wish you would just explain it a little better.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I think,
this is going to sound super vague to anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but that's kind of honestly the movie. It's vague.
Yeah.
In some respects.
For the most part.
There is a end goal for the movie. Like, there's a plot they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
But the way they do it and how they explain it is just kind of muddled a little bit.
I would definitely say it's like, it's kind of like if Inception was like a high school class. Tenet is essentially like a college level class.
Yeah.
In terms of like, the whole like understanding like Christopher Nolan's movie philosophy ideas, and like, just kind of like keeping up with what is going on here, because the movie throws a lot at you, and it's essentially taken like, the spy thriller that's also like, complicated like on its own here. It's kind of like, how convoluted those plots can get sometimes in some of those movies.
Yeah, amplify that times 10.
Well, right.
Like
and then throw in like a completely new and unique mechanic that I haven't seen in a movie ever.
No, that was definitely the coolest part of
the movie.
Yeah, and then there's other implications where it's like, surrounding the plot, basically the protagonist, which that's his name, and he refers him to himself as the protagonist.
Yep.
Which I'm like, that's pretty arrogant. It's basically calling yourself God, like almost for the movie,
I mean, yeah, I guess, kind of, yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but, yeah. So, basically there's rules within the time travel because it'll like fold the fabric of time and cause a who knows what to happen,
Right.
So like you can't come into like physical contact with yourself.
Yeah.
Because that in physics, obviously that can't work. Like,
right.
And so,
so
and there's some stuff revealed later where, he gets really close to himself. I'm not going to say exactly how, but pretty close to total annihilation,
Yeah.
There's a bad guy, obviously. There has to be in this plot.
Yep.
And there's, I thought the acting was good. I didn't,
sure.
I don't really know the main character who was the actor at all.
Yeah, no.
And then we got Batman was in there.
Yep.
AKA
Robert Pattinson.
Pattinson. Yeah, he was there. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I liked his character quite a bit. He, for a movie that was lacking charisma, he kind of brought it.
He did.
That was the only character who really had any.
Pretty much for the most part. Yeah. I mean, they're
very serious.
The protagonist does have like his moments where
he does when he's talking to like
where he's talking to like Michael Caine's character, talking about like you British people don't have a monopoly on snobbery here. Basically, I thought that was a pretty good line.
Yeah, he's making fun of his suit. He's like, Brooks Brothers, come on, man, like, which those are still expensive suits.
Those are,
not when you're a billionaire.
Apparently not. No, you get all your stuff custom made. But no, I mean, I will say, I mean, like, I think like the biggest thing about this movie, I mean, I've talked about it like when I went and saw it like I don't know, like about a month ago roughly or something like that. This movie, I mean, like the biggest thing that has working against it is how complicated it can be. But I mean, I've seen it like about 2 or 3 times since it came out here, and it's one of those ones where when you watch it a second time, I feel like it's like, okay, you enjoy it more here because you're like, okay, now I understand, like, with all the all the like plot twists, all the revelations. Now I'm actually seeing it play out here and like understanding exactly what is happening at this point in time here.
Yeah, and that was something me and my wife talked about after the movie. I was like, she's like, would you go see this again in the theater? I'm like, probably not, just because it is a long movie.
It is, yeah, definitely. I mean,
and I feel like I picked up pretty well on the plot twists and all that stuff.
I mean, for the most part, like when you watch this, you get the general idea of like what is going on here. It's just the details that you're a little muddy on here for the most part.
I mean, this could definitely be a movie I come back to later, and I'm like, oh, that was actually really good.
Yeah,
I'll probably rent it or buy it or something like that. But
it's kind of like watching The Departed, because I mean, there's a lot going.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on in that movie. Like, great movie, really long. But like when I first watched that movie, I had to like rewind it a little bit and like watch it with subtitles, just so that I'm like making sure that that way I'm actually like hearing like every plot point being discussed here, and that might be a similar scenario with this movie potentially.
Could be,
yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was okay. I mean, if I had to rank it or rate it, I guess I don't really even know. Maybe like a
6 or 7,
6.5 or 7. Yeah. Just based off of talking with other people who Christopher Nolan's maybe not their favorite, but or like I've talked to people who just didn't like it because they're like, it's just too much. Like, and I get that. I'm like, oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't be a movie you could bring anyone to. Like, no. you couldn't bring like
it's
your grandparents and be like, hey, let's watch this movie together. They'd be like, what the heck is going on?
You want to know, like, the funny thing is that I just remembered they advertised this movie in Fortnite here. They went for the lowest common denominator.
Yeah. But yeah, like the marketing and everything with this movie is just interesting. Yeah, Fortnite. It's just like, pick an avenue, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
kids aren't going to go see this movie. It's not going to happen. Well, they're not going to get it.
Kids aren't. Yeah, no, come on. I mean, kids are going to be like, okay, I mean, I guess that was kind of cool. It was like Call of Duty in reverse or something. I don't know, but yeah. So,
anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening and watching. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Do all those things. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about what we're doing, and let's get nerdy. Bye.
Somebody's a nerd about something.
Something.
Maybe. I don't know.
We don't know.